What's up, Taiwan? I'm Erika Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. It's been 10 years since student activists stormed Taiwan's legislature in protest over a trade deal with China. A decade on, the event's significance is still being debated. John Van Trieste has this report.
Taiwan's legislature has a reputation for heated debate and even physical fights between members. But 10 years ago, it saw its biggest uproar ever, led not by lawmakers, but angry students. On the evening of March 18, 2014, lawmakers gathered to ratify a controversial trade pact with China. China claims Taiwan, and the opposition said opening Taiwan's service sector would give China another tool to threaten Taiwan's democratic system. Still, the ruling Kuomintang pushed the trade deal through after a review that lasted just 30 seconds. Before long, hundreds of protesters had gathered outside the legislature, angry both at the pact itself and the way in which it was forced through. Li Junda recalls what happened next.
不知道为什么就有一个梯子，然后我们就从梯子翻过围墙，没有什么警察，然后很多人就陆陆续续就冲进去、穿进去这样子。
Thus began an occupation of the legislature that would last more than 3 weeks. Students barricaded themselves inside, repulsing efforts by the police to get them out by force. Some would later try and fail to occupy the cabinet building too. They adopted as their symbol the sunflower, a flower that always turns away from dark toward the sunlight. Though they number just a few hundred, many more soon took to the streets outside in solidarity. A March 30th rally brought out more than 100,000 protesters.
那今天政府透过这样子的手法，30秒短短的30秒内通过这么重大的议题，我们实在是没有办法接受，因为这个攸关于全民的非常大的协议，是应该要好好坐下来讨论，听听人民的声音。
我们绑在头上的就是捍卫民主，退回服贸。然后我认为最重要就是台湾是一个民主国家，那么现在重要是它的民主 已经是受到破坏，所以造成了这些学生讲的所谓的宪政危机。
Inside the legislature, protesters drew up a list of demands. Chief among them, a fresh review of the trade pact and new rules to govern future agreements with China. In the end, they won. The government agreed to draft the rules before the pact was reviewed again. The students left the legislature on April 10th, ending a standoff unlike anything else in Taiwan's history. The agreement with China remains unratified. 10 years on, there are different ways of looking at the sunflower student movement. Supporters of the government at the time say the protests ultimately failed.
第一个，检讨黑箱，民进党执政黑箱更多啊。当时台湾的服务业很有优势，结果现在呢，中国大陆的服务业全部起来了。我们本来可以到大陆去，我们的服务业进军大陆去，赢得更多的市场，就现在也没了。
Others, including scholars who've studied the movement, say it forced Taiwan to reconsider its ties with China, with consequences Taiwan is still feeling today.
I think sunflower movement actually initiated a trend and a reflection that are we going to go down with one China principle in economy, or we are going to choose the alternative? And I think that legacy still stays.
It may still be too early to properly assess the sunflower student movement. That's because the trade pact has never been formally abandoned. There have even been recent calls to revive it. After a decade, the big questions the movement raised, of how close Taiwan should get to China and of when direct action might be justified, are far from answered. James Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese chip giant TSMC has confirmed that it will build 2 packaging plants in southern Taiwan. The 2 facilities will be equipped with advanced chip stacking technology. The project comes out of an agreement between TSMC, the central government, and the Jiayi County government. Officials say it will create 3,000 jobs and help boost Taiwan's semiconductor supply chain. Vice Premier Zheng Wen-san thanked TSMC for keeping its roots in Taiwan as it extends its global reach through overseas plants. Construction of the new Jiayi plants will start next month and should be complete by late 2026. Taiwan is set to raise electricity prices for all households and industries for the first time in many years. The move will impact heavy users the most, namely the country's major chip makers. Joyce Zeng reports.
After years of suppressing energy costs, Taiwan will raise both residential and industrial electricity prices in April. This will end 6 years of shielding people in Taiwan from soaring global oil prices. The move is making some people nervous, but others say they knew the artificially low prices couldn't last forever.
怎么涨那么多？我现在已经觉得蛮贵的了，而且夏天又要开冷气。
国际性的你们也解决不了。
电价一上涨，那所有的物资一定会上涨。如果说政府因为成本的问题要涨价，也希望它的幅度不要太大。
Over the years, Taiwan's state-owned power company Taipower has racked up more than $14 billion in losses to give the country some of the lowest electricity prices in the world. But that's set to change. Local reports say consumers that use under 500 kilowatt hours will face a 5% price increase, 7% for 500 to 1,000 kilowatt hours, and at least a 10% hike for users of over 1,000 kilowatt hours. According to Taipower, the average household uses about 300 kilowatt hours each month, and closer to 450 in the summer. Taiwan's premier has tried to ease concerns about the impact of these hikes.
使得电价的调整能够让各个企业都能够有充分的发展，而每一个家户也都能够负担得起。
The rate hike would hit major power users like chip giants TSMC and Micron the hardest. Addressing potential repercussions for Taiwan's most lucrative industry, Economy Minister Wang Meihua expressed confidence in TSMC's energy efficiency and said Taiwan's electricity prices are still lower than in other countries. With final rates still to be released, some people in Taiwan are already bracing to bear the costs. Howard Zhang and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's health ministry has announced new guidelines on the foster care of children up for adoption. That's after an infant died at the hands of an abusive caregiver late last year. 9 new guidelines put more responsibility on local authorities. They now have to sign off on forms allowing families to give up their children for adoption and help place them in appropriate care. The details of several guidelines still need fleshing out, including more supervision of caregivers and better training for social workers. But the health ministry hopes this will help prevent future cases of abuse. Taiwan's longest on-foot annual pilgrimage has just kicked off from Mar.18 on the country's west coast. Sally Jensen caught the record-breaking crowds this year at the beginning of the walk.
A record-breaking 180,000 pilgrims have signed up to join the sea goddess Mazu, at least part of the 400-kilometer round-trip journey along Taiwan's western coastline. That's a 60% increase on last year for one of Taiwan's biggest religious ceremonies, and worshippers follow the folk deity from her home in Mar.18, Miaoli County, to Beigang Township in central Yunlin County, and worshippers hope that she will bestow good fortune on them along the journey and for the year ahead. And this is a tradition that's been going on for over 2 centuries, and she has her roots, Mazu has her roots in China, but this event is unique to Taiwan. The number of participants growing year on year shows Mazu's timeless appeal, attracting people to join in this event that's not seen anywhere else in the world. Joseph Wu and Sally Jensen in Miaoli County for TaiwanPlus.
A new record has been set in Taiwan's 22nd Wanjingshi Marathon. Kenya's Cyrus Mutai finished first in the men's division with a time of 2 hours, 9 minutes and 31 seconds. He was roughly 3.5 minutes ahead of his closest competitor. Over 11,000 people took to the trail along Taiwan's northern coast in New Taipei City. More than 300 runners from 26 countries came to participate in Taiwan's only road race with a gold label from World Athletics. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, lace up your ballet slippers and head to Mexico City for this first-of-its-kind public dance class put on for Women's Month. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.